question sections of the 2016 Maths Paper 1. So question 5, question 5 says the graphs of f of x is equal to x squared minus 4 and g of x is equal to negative x plus 2 are sketched below. A and B are the x-intercepts of f, C and D are the y-intercepts of f and g respectively, and K is the point on G such that BK is parallel to the x-axis. F and G intersect at A and E. Okay, that's a lot of info. In order to tackle this question, I first like to break everything out and color coordinate everything. So let's make f of x green. F of x is the parabola since it's an x squared, so let's highlight that. And g of x, let's make that pink. It's the straight line, and it's a negative straight line, so it goes from bigger to smaller, and that's pink there. Okay, now A and B are the x-intercepts of G. So we said we're making f of x green, so f of x is x squared minus 4 and g of x is minus x plus 2. Okay. And the x-intercepts of f are A and B, and C and D are the y. So C is the y-intercept of the green graph, and D is the y-intercept of the pink graph. Okay, now as we know. So the first question wants us to write down the coordinates of C. So C, we know it's the y-intercept of the green graph. So when we have a y-intercept, we're going to make x 0. So once x is 0, and we plug that into this equation here, we're automatically going to get negative 4. Therefore, the point of C is 0.4. Now they want us to write down the coordinates of D. So D is the y-intercept of the pink graph. So as I said before, we make x 0. That will leave us with a y value of 2. So that's the coordinates of D. Now they want us to determine the length of CD. So CD is this over here. It's along the y-axis, so all we have to do is add in the y values. So we have positive 2 plus not add, we have to minus. So whenever we calculate the length, we always have minus. So CD will equal to y d minus yc. So that's 2 minus 4, which gives us 6 units. Now they want us to calculate the coordinates of B. So B is an x-intercept of the green graph. So in order to find an x-intercept, we make y the value of 0. Therefore, 0 will equal x squared minus 4. And we have to factorize this since it's a parabola. So you have x minus 2 and x plus 2. Therefore, x can either be 2 or x can be negative 2. Since B is on the negative part of the graph, the coordinates of B will be negative 2.0. Now they want us to determine the coordinates of E. E is the point at which f of x and g of x intersect. So that means the equations will equal. So x squared minus 4 is equal to negative x plus 2. This will give us the x value. Okay, so x squared plus, I'm bringing this equation to that side. So x squared plus x minus 4 plus 2 is equal to 0. So x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0. And since this is a trinomial, sorry, this was a miscalculation on my part. So since I'm bringing this part here onto this side to make everything equal, the negative x will become positive and the positive 2 will become negative. So therefore it will become x squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 2. And since this is a trinomial, we can factorize it. I'll be using the factors of 3 and 2 to give me 1. So x minus 3 and x minus 2. Therefore, x can either be 3 or x can either be 2. Now, since we know D is 0.2 and E is significantly higher as compared to D, I won't choose, it's not on this, so it can't be x is equal to 2. Therefore, x has to be equal to 3. So once we have that equation, I'm going to plug it in into my straight line. So negative 3 sorry, I miscalculated, didn't I? I made another mistake. So it's x positive 3, x minus 2 in order to give us positive 1 and to give us a negative, because two negatives together gives us a positive, and this is a negative 6. So therefore x can either be negative 3 or x can be 2. So since E is on the negative side of the graph, x cannot be equal to 2. So once we found out the x value, all we have to do is sub it into one of the equations to get the y value. So I'll sub it into the pink graph, and that will give me the y value of 5. Therefore, E is negative 3, and 5. It's 5 because once we substitute negative 3 in, that negative becomes a positive, then becomes 2, then it becomes 5. Just in case you were wondering. Okay. Now they want us to find the values of x for which g of x, which f of x is less than g of x. So if we look at our graph, we have to look at which values g of x is under. Well, the green graph is under the pink graph. and that I see it's this part here. So we already know E is negative 3 comma 5, and A will be two comma 0. The X values will be from negative 3 to 2. So negative 3 to 2. That's it. Next question, it wants us to know for which f of x times g of x is more than 0. So this basically means which values of x for both of the graphs will they be increasing? Will they be more than 0? So they basically want all of the values for both of these graphs that will not cross this part here. So that's what we want to avoid. So as we can see from this graph, it's from this point here at B till negative infinity. So let's write that, negative infinity till negative 2, because that point there is negative 2 comma 0. And we're looking at the x values. But it's also from this point here. But it's only at this specific point because g of x starts to go below this point here. It starts to come below here. So therefore, we'll write and 2. Okay, that's that. Now they want us to calculate the length of AK. What's the length of AK? So AK is this part here. This neon green part. That's AK. So first let's find the points of AK. Well, not the points of AK, the points of K. So K will have the same point as B, same X value as B, since it's directly above. Therefore, that will also be negative 2. And to find the Y value, we're gonna substitute negative 2 into the pink graph, which will give us 4. That's point K. And let's write down what we know. Okay. The length of BK, which is here, will be 4 minus 0, which is 4. So therefore BK is 4 units. The length of BA, which is here, will be, AB is 2 minus 2, which is 4 units. And since we're already given that BK is parallel to the y-axis, this makes this a right triangle. And since we already have this side and this side, we can use the theorem of Pythagoras to figure out the length of AK. So once we do that, AK will be equal 4 squared plus 4 squared. Write 3's in Pythag. And that will give us 5.66 units. Now we'll be moving on to question 6. It says the graph of g of x is equal to negative 2 to the power of x plus 8 is sketched below. A and B are the y and x intercepts respectively of graph of g. Now, we only need to use color here because everything is rather clear. But we know A is the y-intercept and B is the x-intercept. And this is the graph here. So let's highlight that in yellow. This is the graph. Okay. And remember, since this is an exponential graph, we have an asymptote here, and we always know the value of the asymptote is this part here. So it'll be y is equal to 8. Now they want us to write down the range of g. Since they're talking about the range, we know they're talking about y values. Therefore, y can only be less than 8, since it can't go above this asymptote here. Now they want us to determine the coordinates of B. Now the coordinate B is the x-intercept. So if we're trying to figure out the x-intercept, we must make y equal 0. So 0 will equal negative 2 to the power of x plus 8. Then let's bring this that side. 2 to the power of x is equal to positive 8. 2 to the power of x is also equal to 2 to the power of 3. Since that's also equals to 8 and we're making them have the same basis, therefore x will be equal to 3. Therefore point B is 3.0. Now 6.3 is saying if G is reflected over the x-axis to form a new graph H. They want us to determine the equation of H. So basically what they mean, H is the reflection of G. So if we have to flip G over the asymptote, like we're folding a piece of paper, what would that graph be? Well, for first off, it wouldn't be a negative. It will be a positive graph since it will be increasing like this. We have the exact same values, we just have to change the signs. Therefore, h of x will equal to 2 to the power of x minus 8. Simple. Now, 6.4 it says to explain why the x-intercepts of G and H are both at B. So they want to know why the x-intercepts of G and H are both over B. So that means the graph of G was reflected over the x-axis to form H. This means when y is equal to 0, the solution will be the same for both functions. This means that both G and H will have the x-intercept at B. Is that okay? Okay. Now we're done with question 6. Let's move on to question 7. So a hyperbola H is described with the following characteristics. The equation of the vertical asymptote is x is equal to 0, and the range of H is from negative infinity till 3 and 3 till positive infinity. The x-intercept of H is 2.0. Determine the equation of H. Okay. So, since it's hyperbola, we know the formula is h of x is equal to a over x plus q. Okay? Now, since we know the range is 3, from infinity to 3, we know that's our q value. So then we can write h of x is equal to a over x plus 3. Now we know the x-intercept is 2.0. So let's substitute that point in to get the value of a. So 0 is equal to a over 2 plus 3. And let's solve for a. That will ultimately give us a is a value of negative 6. Therefore, we have our equation. H of x is equal to negative 6 over x plus 3. Thank you.